Hi, JJ. How are you?
I'm good, Nicolette. How are you?
I'm doing great. Greetings from Asia. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. First off, thank you very much for saying yes to be interviewed today. A little bit about my podcast. It talks a lot about self worth and, of course, advancing everybody, especially women, um, who's undergone some trauma in their lives and just wanna overall improve their well-being. So, thank you so much for saying yes today. I'd like to read a bit of introduction for our listeners before we get right into our conversation. So, hey everyone, we have JJ Flizanes here with us. JJ is an empowerment strategist and the creator of the Empowering Minds Network. JJ works with conscious spiritual truth seekers who want to remove emotional blocks to success. She helps people identify sabotaging patterns and transmute struggle into joy. Through a series of clarifying exercises, she is able to curate a personalized roadmap to emotional healing. JJ is passionate about empowering people with the knowledge and awareness of how they can live the life of their dreams. Tick, tick, tick. Yes, yes, yes. Everything that I'm looking for. Welcome, JJ. Hi.
Hi.
I'm excited. JJ, before we get right into it, can you share with us what was it like growing up as a JJ Flizanes?
How was it like growing up? It was hard sometimes because I'm different than everybody in my family. Those people who are out there who feel like the black sheep. Yeah. It's hard because the messaging that you're getting is that you need to conform or people aren't like you. And somehow you make that wrong. And my parents loved me and they supported me seriously. Like they were amazing. And I'm still different. So they did the best they could. They did the best they could with someone who they didn't understand a lot.
They didn't know then. I mean, it's the first time living their life so.
Yeah, I've learned so much over the years, and part of my seeking nature is to have questions answered. And I was seeking long enough to find the answers that satisfied me. So while I'm still a seeker, I feel pretty good about all my answers. So, I feel like my parents are kind of younger souls than me. I mean, all growing up, they'd say, GJ, you're deep. I mean, like I asked hard questions early on. I bucked authority or early on. My mother would say, if I like, don't do that. And I'd say, well, why? And she said, because I said so. And I say, that's not an answer.
Yes.
Sorry,
yes.
because I said so is not an answer to why you want me to not do that thing. So, yeah, I mean, there were times I was always sort of a little odd. I fit in just, like there's the really popular people in school and then your life, and then there's like the ones who really feel like misfits. I was somewhere in the middle. I still made the honor roll. I still was, in the performance groups. I still, I did things. I had friends, whatever. Like I wasn't a complete weirdo. But at the same time, I floated around feeling ready for the world early on in a way that, in fact, I even went to college. In between my junior and senior of high school, I did a program at Carnegie Mellon. It was called, it was a summer camp, but it was called pre-college. I went to pre-college before my senior year of high school. So let me tell you about perspective. When you get back from pre-college, where you stay on campus and you're an adult, and then you come back to high school, you're like, I'm so over this.
What is
this? Like, right. I mean, I was over it before I left.
Child's play.
Yeah. So that I've always I was born a month early. That should tell you something. Like I've always been okay. I'm ready. I'm ready. Let me out, world.
Awesome. Wow. Okay, so now we're gonna go into the deeper things now. Like, what does it mean to be an empowerment strategist?
Well, that's a brand that I created based on wanting to honor both sides of the brain. I'm a pretty balanced brain, and I've spent like years of my life on one side and then years of my life on the other side. And then sort of now I'm in the hopefully of combining of the two. And unlike some therapists or coaches where I feel like there's a lot of like, you can have that therapist or coach who's all about, like really wanting to work on and allow you to feel the feelings, and they're all about the feelings, and that's great. That's the empowerment piece. But then there's also the strategy piece. So it's either I find that a lot of people do like one or the other, but they don't do both well. So I wanted to pull them together very specifically to address everyone's right and left brain, because everybody has one. And if you're not good at using the other side, then you probably need a little bit of balance. And that would be where something like, but most of us gravitate towards what is comfortable. So if someone is very right brain, they're going to find a right brain coach or right brain therapist, but they're going to be stuck in their right brain problems because they need to balance with using their left brain to create strategies, to create some discipline, to create some actions and some habits that move them out of the story that they're in.
Okay, we're going to go back to basics. So what, for the benefit of our listeners, left and right, what are those?
Okay, so and it's actually, there's more than that, but for simplicity's sake, and I'll reference Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor wrote 2 books, and her second book was called Whole Brain Living. And it actually identifies 4 parts of the brain, 2 on each side, and a character kind of represents the personality of each part of that brain. So just because I want to acknowledge the 4 parts, because I've even taught a class called Awaken Your Dream Life on that, I want to bring it back to the simplicity of that the right brain generally is the creative and emotional side of us. And the left brain is the more logical, linear, action-taking. Not that right brains can't take action, but is more about fun and creativity and passion and romance and play and expression, versus left is about getting stuff done and organization and control and linear thinking. And so that would be the general overview of the difference between the left and right brain.
So, okay. So how do one balance then?
How does one balance?
Yeah, how does one balance? Because for me, I always thought myself to be the goal getter, but then right now, I mean, I feel that I'm in that right, operating from that right space, but that I also try to be aware to be balanced. But then sometimes you can't help it. Some days you just don't wanna stick to your goals.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I do, like with people. So let's talk about that for a second. Generally speaking, if you're out of balance, you do need to understand how and why, and so that you know what to do about it. You can't just feel unbalanced and say, oh, I'm going to try to be balanced if you don't have a plan. Again, that's the left brain part. That's the strategy. That's the analysis. That's the understanding the components and the parts and the pieces. And your brain, just like your body, if you wanted to have a different physical result, let's say you're already going to the gym or you're already working out and you're doing whatever you're doing Pilates, you're doing yoga, you're doing resistance training, whatever, but you want your body to continue to the next level or change in a different way, you'd have to change how you're working it out. So it's the same thing for the brain. If you're doing the same thing all the time, you have to work it out in a different way, which means you're going to have to do things that probably aren't comfortable, things you probably aren't going to love or you're going to be afraid of because it's going to be outside of your comfort zone. But that's how you're going to build up and stretch into balancing your brain. The brain is a little different than the muscles in that we think everything we think is real. We think everything we feel is real. And we sometimes take it at face value that if I feel something negative, it must be something wrong. And we don't recognize that there's other levels to that, because sometimes it's like in the gym, you understand that if you want to build muscle, you have to lift heavy weights and you have to go to where your muscles fail. So the body and the brain will tell the body, hey, you have to build more muscle now because you failed at that and you need to get stronger. So the body will repair itself and make it stronger. But we understand failure when it comes to our bodies in a non-threatening way, in a non-emotional way. But when we look at changing our habits and our beliefs, oh my God, now we're in dangerous territory. So it does take a certain person who's ready to do the work and a certain person who understands they probably need to be held in a safe container with a lot of accountability and support to do things that they're not comfortable with in order to recreate and create new neural pathways in the brain.
You're hitting all the points here, plasticity and etc. etc. I love it. Gigi, what are core wounds and why do I want to know about them?
Do you want to know about them?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I only joke about that.
About the therapy, going in deeper into the feeling and whatnot, but then, okay. Yes. Let's just jump right to it.
So I shouldn't say we all, I'm assuming. Let me take that back. I have dealt with it for so long. I feel like everyone knows it, but maybe that's not true. Your brain can be divided into maybe 2 parts, conscious and unconscious, or conscious and subconscious. And it ranges. It's anywhere from 5 to 12% is your conscious brain, and anywhere from 95 to 88% of your unconscious or subconscious brain. So it means, like, if you're living in your house, it's everything in the basement. Okay. So only 5 to 12% is from the ground floor up, and everything else is underneath underneath the ground floor in the basement. And when you're 0 to 7, your brain doesn't have a consciousness. Like we can talk about talking, we can talk about ideas and thoughts, we can present different points of view. But when we're 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we don't have that capability. We're just observing, and the brain is taking everything in as fact. So we end up interpreting things like you're crying in the next room and your parents leave you there for a while, that you're not safe. You've been abandoned. You've been forgotten. You've been ignored. Your brain starts to make judgments about how to survive in this world based on these experiences, and they become your subconscious. They become all the beliefs that live in the basement that literally run everything in your life. So for me, I have an interesting relationship with talk therapy and therapy in general, but suffice to say, let's skip to the end. The end was I did a core wound exercise that blew my mind wide open. And I said to the therapist, why isn't every single person going to therapy doing this exercise before they get here? Like, and so because nobody else seemed to care, I now care. So now I do it. It's like my signature program. I have a course around it. It's the beginning of all the courses that I do, because if you have a pattern that you keep repeating, you keep having a certain kind of relationship, you've been divorced a couple times, you always get to the end where the job isn't, you feel victimized and they're not treating you well, and you keep quitting your job and getting a new job. You can't heal cancer, you keep getting diseases or sick and hurt, all these things that keep happening. You're in a pattern and you don't know how to fix it. I want to go to the root. We all understand, like a weed, right? If you cut a weed at the top, it will grow back. When you're just talking about stuff that's happening right now in your life, it's like cutting off the top of the weed. It's not the root. It's not the whole reason why you're acting the way that you're acting or believing the way you're believing. So I want to go to the root, and the core wound is the root. And once I understand that, now I can make different decisions about what kinds of therapy, what kinds of help, what kinds of things do I need to do? Not only what kinds of things, how do I need to change? Because if I have a belief that says I've been devalued or I've been ignored, what happens for the rest of your life after 7, from 7 until dead, you're pretty much trying to get those core wounds healed. You're trying to get the needs met that weren't met before 7. And so every job, every relationship, every friend, everything you choose has some kind of attachment or connection to your wounds and to these core wounds. And so there's not, and everyone has, several of them, but let's just say there's I focus on the top 3. And if we just look at the top 3 and we start looking at how to heal, we have a couple different steps in taking responsibility for that. So versus my experience with traditional talk therapy, and again, anyone who's listening has a traditional talk therapist and you love them and it's been effective and your life has changed and you're different in the same situation, I am not talking to you. There are some great therapists out there, but there's also a lot of really crappy ones that literally come in every week and you talk about the same problem with the same person week after week, month after month, year after year. You're no different. And then how you do things is you avoid, or you get divorced and quit your job and move away. Okay? Well, you take you with you. You didn't change. You just moved situations. And I promise you will manifest a very similar situation no matter where you go. So to me, healing is when you're different in the same situation. Not changing the situation or circumstances, changing you from the inside out.
I love that, because to me, your reality is reflected from within. JJ, so you said that you've gone through talk therapy and you have a very distinct relationship with that. So how is that different with your core wound program?
That we start off with, what are we working with? See, what happens so there's many things. In fact, I have a whole 90-minute talk called 3 Reasons Why Talk Therapy is Ineffective. So if anybody is interested,
Yeah. I mean,
it's free.
Briefly.
It's free. But, and I only talked about 3, but I could add 3 more. Let me add one that wasn't in that original recording. So in my experience so far, I've been podcasting now for almost 10 years. When people are ready to work with me, because they've been listening for a while, they resonate. They see me change. They see me grow. They hear me talk about it and deal with it on my show. They have a certain trust that if I can do it, I can help them do it. I don't teach anything I don't try on myself or do myself. And I actually started teaching law of attraction before working really kind of deeply with all the wounds and stuff. So again, when people come to me, they already know, like, and trust me. because they've seen me. I've proven myself to them. How many people choose their therapist and know anything about them before they get there? Nobody. Pretty much nobody. Right? Now, maybe if they're famous or they've written a couple books, okay, that's fine if they have a podcast, right? But generally, if you're going through insurance and you go to someone's website, okay, maybe there's a video, but you don't know them and you don't know their story and you don't know what they overcame and you don't know their personality and you don't know how, where they struggle. They're not, because their job and their role is to not connect with you. Their job is to sort of be, neutral, if you will. And so, but you don't know that your therapist knows anything more than you. You don't know that. I mean, yes, they know it because they have a degree and they've studied it. I'm not trying to totally disrespect therapy. I'm just saying that you don't know that how they handle, because I used to be a part of networking groups 20 years ago when I had a personal training business, and I would see therapists act like children. I would see them in public throwing a hissy fit and think, you're a therapist. Shouldn't you be handling this a little bit better? And I did not have faith in some of these. That was not good to see. I would never have gone to that person because I don't see you embodying what I think levels of expectation I would have. So again, and I'm not trying to throw every therapist under the bus. There are a lot of therapists who are doing good work in the world, but just I know that traditional talk therapy, when I say traditional, I mean where you're just coming in and they're saying, why are you here? What can I help you with? Tell me about you. And then 4 months later, you're telling the same story about your husband or your wife or your work or your mom, and nothing's really changed in your life. That to me is a waste of time, a waste of money. And it's not even the truth of what's going on, because you have to take responsibility for your life. You can't blame everybody else and be a victim and think somehow your life is going to change. So when you look at your core wounds, you have to take responsibility for what you've chosen. You chose that person. Why did you choose them? Did they do some things that weren't great? Sure, but you chose them. Why? If you can learn your core wounds, you can start to understand that. And if you heal them, you'll choose somebody different next time. Or you'll be happier without other people having to contribute. Because so many of us have been taught that other people make you happy, and it's not true. And when you believe it is true, you're in for a life of pain.
Seeking validation, seeking happiness outside of you. And so you said that you started your you started podcasting 10 years ago, and then you started your program. When was that?
I officially started the Core Wound program. Well, I created a program called the Roadmap to Emotional Healing, and that was based around the core wound exercise. That's the start. And that was done probably 3 years ago, 2021, 22. Yeah, 2021. So I did in 2021, I did this three reasons why talk therapy is ineffective, which led to the Roadmap to Emotional Healing. And it's still a course anyone can buy and do on their own. But then it became a course that I used in smaller, more advanced groups where we were going to go deeper. So I went from a personal trainer. I went from an actress to personal trainer, but the personal trainer piece was just,
You're an actress?
Was.
Sorry, was. Yeah, was.
I mean, come on, I'm acting all the time. No, I mean, I'm performing. No, I'm not. I'm actually the same person all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you prior to the interview, I was talking to you that JJ that I saw her deliver something. So I love it. I love
I'm the same person. It doesn't matter if I'm in educating
on or off screen.
On or off screen, I'm the same person. I may not share as much with different people depending on who they are. Like with my audience, I share everything because they're my audience. They listen to me, they know me, they trust me, they like me, they show up, they pay for things. So the Rewire program really, I guess I've been using it with people in a deep way since 2021. Yeah, since 2021. So it's been 3 years, lots of groups, lots of people, because again, it's like having a personal trainer for your emotions and for your habits and your beliefs. To change those things, and they are changeable. They are healable. Some of them more easily than others. And sometimes it just takes one perspective change to shift everything. I've had some really great stories happen in a very short period of time. But we're talking about healing some stuff that's been with you for a long time. You've had these habits and patterns your entire life since you were 7. So, it's not going to be overnight, but we can at least identify them. And then from there, you can decide what to do about it. Even just knowing them is good, because if you just know them, then you can start to see the patterns. But when you want to change them, I promise you're going to need a little more accountability and support, because it's going to be doing stuff that scares you. And most people do not sign up willingly to do things that scare them on their own.
Yeah. So who's pushing?
Me. Me. I'm still a trainer. I'm just now a trainer in the rewiring of your core wound patterns.
The brain working with this one.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So I think we talked a little bit about traditional talk therapy just a couple of minutes ago, but can you share with the listeners, with me as well, what is the difference between coaching and traditional talk therapy?
Well, to be fair, there's probably as many bad coaches as there are therapists. So let's just not say
Yeah,
that
I
one
knew
is
you were going to say that.
well, because I've had good and bad of both. I've had a great coach. I've
Fair
had a great
enough, yeah.
therapist. I've had terrible therapists, and I've had terrible coaches.
Terrible coach.
So it depends on the person,
Mhm.
and that's again why I think you want to work with someone you resonate with. You want to audition them. You want to research them. You want to know them. You want to know who you're dealing with because they don't have to have the same life that you have, but you have to be able to feel confident in their ability to be an example of some of the things that they teach, as well as giving tools. What I have there's a coaching mentality in some schools where the coach is never supposed to give the person advice, which I think is like crazy. So you think that they're always going to have the answers inside of them? Yes, I believe that we need to lead people back to their own intuition, absolutely, and finding the answers inside of them. But unless you grow as a person, you're going to be limited on your answers. And unless you grow as a
Mhm.
person, you're going to be limited on what you can see for yourself. If you
Yeah.
can't see
You
bigger
don't
than
know
what
what
you're
you don't
currently
know.
living, you don't know what you don't know. And so
Mm.
to me, that's the combination of the kind of coaching. I mean, I actually have a certification. It's an Empowerment Strategist certification, and I've run that course 2 times to train coaches into using the kinds of tools that I'm using with people. And and some of them come in like ready to do what they've done before, which is to really give people a lot of work to do. And I'm like, hold on, like you got to listen to them. There's the balance of yes, listening and guiding, and then also you participating. I mean, they're coming to you for a reason. So coaching isn't a catch-all, but what's more flexible about coaching? There's a lot of rules as a therapist. There's a lot of legalities. There's a lot
Mm.
of ability to be sued. And so there's strict rules for a reason. And a lot of therapists abide by them out of fear because they don't want to be sued. And I get that. You have people who are suicidal. You have people who are, I get it. But because of the restrictions, I think also vibrationally, we attract more desperate people. We attract like less healthy people. We attract people who are, and there's a need for that. Absolutely. But I think when you move into coaching, most coaches, because we don't have the same legal things that therapists do, we attract maybe a little healthier people sometimes, or we attract people
Somebody who
who,
wants to make a change for the
someone who
better.
believes they can.
Yeah, someone who believes they can. Yeah, yeah. Because if it's therapy, it's like they know there's something's wrong. It's like they have deep rooted issues, but then up until the point that they're okay, I cannot do this anymore. I'm helpless. I need to go. I don't know. That's just my take on it. And then coaching is like, okay, I don't know how to I want to transition my career, for example, then you go to a career coach. Okay, thank you so much, JJ. So, how do you teach the law of attraction differently?
With the right and left brain. I give reasons, I give science, I give mechanics. So I've been able to convert a lot of left brain doubters, people who are like, ooh, woo woo, it's woo woo, and explain the science because it's science.
Okay, do you have like case studies? One that's very vivid to you, like that comes to mind.
I don't know about it. I mean, I have testimonials, and I'm running a 14-day manifestation challenge right now, and already in the challenge on day 3, somebody sold their house. So yeah. And
After debating about not selling it for
no. This person is not. He's a resident law of attraction guy, but
right.
I run free 14-day manifestation challenges where for 2 weeks we hold everybody accountable to doing daily practices to increase your frequency. So he
Right.
had just started the challenge, and then boom, he sold his house. So, but I didn't have to convince him, although he's been with me for a very long time. So yeah, I think people have just said that I make it make sense to them. I address both concerns. I address the concern because it is about the feeling. But some people that are left brain don't understand the feeling part. They're logical, they're linear, they do the exercise. They don't like, but it's not about it's not about just getting it done. It's about the feeling. I don't actually care how you get there. I'm just giving you exercises to try to get there, but it's really about how you feel. So again, I use a left and right brain approach to teach people how to activate a higher frequency and let that attract better things into their lives.
So context on that person, I'm really curious. A bit of context on the person that just sold the house.
Well, he and his wife he's the high viber, she's the low viber. She's
Okay.
and he wants to, transition into doing something more exciting with his life, and she doesn't really want to be involved in it. So he's kind of fighting against, he calls it contradiction, right? So when you can let other people deal with their stuff, because you can't vibrate for somebody else, and you just focus on you. So this manifestation challenge gives him a community of people to talk to about the thing that his wife doesn't understand.
Right.
And so because of that, you feel
You've
seen
got
and heard.
a space. Yeah.
Yep. You feel seen and heard. You feel supported. You feel excited. You feel free to talk about and do the things that light you up that your partner is interested in.
Well, I hope he did it, smoothly. There's no arguments with the wife and whatnot.
Oh, I think she appreciates and expects him to pull her up vibrationally. Like, she expects him to keep doing the great thing. She just doesn't. She's just in her own way to try to. She doesn't want to learn.
Right. Okay. I mean, that's the whole other story on its own. So how do one create a roadmap to emotional healing? I know we did touch about all of this just now, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's you get your core wounds. So I've created something called a core wound map out of this exercise, which anyone can do, by the way. The exercise, although you're not going to get the map, because I've taken something and refined it and refined it and refined it. But the core wound exercise exists in Getting the Love You Want by Harville Hendricks and Helen Kelly Hunt. It's from Imago Therapy, which is what Harville has created. And you can get the book and the workbook, but the exercise is in the workbook. And again, you can do it yourself. It's about 8 pages. It's what I do with the data that makes the difference, because I did teach it just the way that it is. It was given to me that way. I did it that way. I had a huge breakthrough when I did it. And then I started giving it to everybody else and using it in my work. And I would see some people get it and some people not really get it. And I'm like, okay, why are they not getting it? And that's when I continued to refine it and refine it and refine it, so that way more people can have life-changing experiences with understanding their core wounds, because I've created a map. So to me, again, going back to the healing conversation, the therapy conversation, let's say you have a problem and you know you need some help. And you go to therapy because that's all you know. I'm going to go to therapy. And then you don't even, in therapy, you may not even have a plan. My guy, I ended up sending him somewhere because I didn't want to be a therapist. I said, can we find somebody for you here locally to just work some things out? And he was like, sure. So then he went, and the first session was great. He was excited. They talked about some stuff. He had some revelations himself. Second appointment, third appointment, he stopped going. And I had a feeling I knew why. And I didn't ask for a long time because I didn't want to push. And then I finally said, and I knew what it was. So why did you stop going? He said, because I didn't know where we were going. I just go in and talk about like the people in my life and tell them my history. I said, right. Were there any books or exercises or tools? He said, no. And that's the problem, is that there's no map. There's no, you don't know when you're getting any better. Where am I headed? What's the goal here? Okay. And how do I know when I'm there? It's really, if it's just talking about what you're thinking about, or your relationship with your mom or your dad or your sibling when you were 14, and that's fine. But why? Where are we gonna pick that lesson up and do something with it? So to me, the roadmap, everybody needs a personalized roadmap, but you make the map based on your core wounds. And then you can make decisions about what kind of therapies to do, whether you do Reiki, whether you do energy healing, whether you do therapy, whether you do psilocybin journey, whether you do whatever. Maybe you do all of it, but at least when you have the diagnosis of the core wounds, you can make decisions about which thing comes first and why. And now you have a little bit more, this is more well thought out, and there's a plan in place.
I'm more confident to actually get on this program and know where I'm going. Okay, right. Great. Okay, I purposely picked this question for me and for, if there are podcasters listening to this right now, what are most podcasters doing wrong when it comes to monetization? This is somewhere out of the blue. Just put it into the mix.
They're expecting to make money from sponsorships and ads.
How so? Because
I think
I've only been podcasting for about, let me see, about a year now. Only started getting guests 10 months ago. So the first 6 episodes, it was me by myself, and then get on the program, this platform, and then here I am. But okay, so sorry for cutting off.
let's use you as an example. So what were your goals of having a podcast?
First thing, it was just passion project because I like talking to people and I love learning. So besides reading books, I feel like I get more I get more connected when you're talking to people because body language and whatnot. But right now, I said, okay, maybe this is something that I could scale. But sometimes I don't know where to start. So I wanted to go into coaching as well. So I want to use this to leverage it. I know, but then I don't know. So I'm somewhere in the middle. So yes. Okay.
Well,
use me as an example.
In the same place where I have the 3 reasons why talk therapy is ineffective, I also have the 3 fastest ways to make money podcasting. And that is also a 90-minute class that is free that you can watch. And anyone else who's listening who's a podcaster can watch, or if you're thinking about starting a podcast, because again, like everything I'm doing, there is the sort of what's the goal and what are we working with, and we need to make a plan. And so for you, now that you're having thoughts, you would need to look at your assets. You need to look at, but where people are making, 9 times out of 10, when you ask somebody who's starting a podcast how they think they're going to monetize, most people are going to tell you, oh, I want to get sponsorships and advertisers. And then we're like, yeah, okay, you're not Joe Rogan yet. So good luck with that. Like, you're not going to make any money unless you already come with a built-in audience that is huge, which if you do, you can. But if you don't, and you're brand new and nobody knows you, you've got no followers, no email list, nothing, you're not going to become Joe Rogan overnight. Sorry. You're not even become, I don't know, somebody less than Joe Rogan, like all of us. You're not going to become me overnight because it takes time.
That's true.
It takes time because it's a know, like, and trust. And not to mention how many podcasts are being pumped out into the world every day now.
Yeah.
And they were a lot when I was started, but it's double or triple now. But at least the good news is, I guess it's kind of good news, I think it's 0.5% of podcasts of all that are out there are actually active. So most people start a podcast, do 8 to 10 episodes and quit. So it's, you have to find somebody who, and you have to be somebody who's in it for the long game. But you do need to have a business plan. You need to have a strategy.
When you say long game, what do you mean?
It's a relationship. You're building a relationship. And people are listening to podcasts every day, all day. And they jump from podcast to podcast. And again, if you're not consistent, you only do it once a month, or you stopped after 10 episodes, but you've never posted anything new recently, people may or may not click on it. And if you want to build a relationship, so for you, if you want to sell to your audience, then you have to build a relationship with your audience, and you have to also showcase why they would want to pay you. So, and you have to create something that satisfies a need they have that you can deliver on. And that's really how, even today, so in the current Rewire program, it's a 6-month program that's cut into 2 parts. So the rewiring your core wound patterns is 3 months. And then the second 3 months is called Evolving Beyond Your Story. And this year I offered it as a 1, or you can get both. Because what I've learned is that I'll take people through 3 months and they'll say, oh, I need more than this. I'm like, I know. So then we'll go into another 2 or 3 months. So I set it up front. Well, today I'm at month number 5 of this 6-month program. And one person said, I need 3 more months. And I was like, okay. I said, okay, well, you guys discuss
Beyond
what you want to do. Well, I'm doing another program anyway. So when your people start to see results, they see changes, they feel differently, things are happening, they want to keep going. But it's also about providing a need that they couldn't get met somewhere else, or that they want you to meet because they know, like, and trust you, and they have seen you change. And I have a live event coming up this year. I did one 2 years ago. I'd like to do them every year. We'll see if that's going to happen, but because they're a lot of work. However, I do love them, and my love language is quality time. So at this live event, I always ask, how many of you put your hand up if you've seen me grow? And all hands always go up. I just do not teach anything I don't do myself. I'm not the person who's lecturing. I'm the one who gets in there with you. We get into the dirt, we get into the weeds. But for the kind of work that I do, it's very important that they trust me, because I am going to push you and you aren't going to like me when I push you. So you have to kind of know going in that this is tough love, so that you don't rebel and react and run the other way, which has happened one time with one person who did not
JJ, I cannot stand with JJ. No, this is wrong.
Yep. One person who I would not have let in otherwise. Did not listen to the show, was doing no personal work, did it out of desperation, lasted 3 months out of the 6. And I was like, yeah.
Oh,
But that's okay, because he just performed exactly what I said. His core wounds, we saw him do all of his core wound patterns right in front of our face. So it was fine. It was a great
right.
learning lesson for the rest of the group.
Oh, okay. Now, JJ, what is next for you? I know you mentioned you have your live event and all those things, your program. So what is, maybe
Well,
you can.
I'm going to be starting a a new course next month called Date Your Body.
Date
I have
your
my first
body.
Date Your Body.
Okay.
I had the first official person sign up today. So
Yay!
I have five more spaces left. Although I could squeeze 2 more in, but if I get 6, I'll be very happy. And I'm already feeling like 2 months is not going to be enough, but I'm going to try it. And then if it goes where I think it's going to go, it'll be 3 months next year in January. But my audience knows that when I have an idea, when I hear them, when I feel where they need to go, I create something. But I don't, because I'm creating it with them, I sell it for like less than I would normally sell it for. And I invite them to participate in the creation of it. So that's what I've done. So I do betas, and they know like that's going to be significantly less price than when I actually roll it out as a regular program. So I'm starting that next month. Yes, I have my live event called the Embodied Healing Intensive. That happens in October. And then in the near next 5 years, 3 years, 5 years, I don't know, I'd like to have a retreat center.
A center, not a retreat program where you take people with you to go someplace, but you want a center itself.
I want a building. I want land.
You want a building. You want land. Where is that going to be? I'm
in
excited.
Ojai, California. Yeah, somewhere here in Ojai.
California. Okay.
Because people already come here anyway they come to my little town
right
on a retreat. I mean, it's a very spiritual place. It's like Sedona of California. So,
yeah. I was just about to ask, is it like Sedona?
Yes. I mean, not as quite as magnificent in the rocks, right? I mean, you can't beat Sedona's rocks. But the energy is similar.
How now this is me being curious from being Asian, like how far is Ojai to say San Francisco or Los Angeles?
From Los Angeles International Airport, we're 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So an hour and a half.
Minutes. An hour and a half.
Yeah.
Okay.
To San Francisco, probably 5 hours.
5 hours. So Ojai is closer to LA then.
Yes.
Okay.
And
actually
yeah, I was even closer to Santa Barbara. We're 45 minutes from Santa Barbara.
Right. No, I am heading to Los Angeles for the first time in September. So that's why
Nice.
Yeah, Ojai. Okay, let's see if I can. Let's see. Fingers crossed. I have you on my social, so perhaps.
It's a nice road trip, and that actually might be a good time of year. August is usually the hottest time, but September can be pretty hot too. So
really good. Is it because it's after summer?
Well, we just had a heat wave like last week, so who knows?
Who knows?
The weather changes, but it could be a beautiful weather. We're about 20 miles from the beach, so we're warmer here than at the beach, always. But it gets cool in the morning and cool in the evening, and it's a lovely place to go hiking. Lots of good food and culture. Again, but if you end up coming, send me a direct message and I'll tell you what to do, where to go.
Awesome. Yay. Okay. Now, JJ, I'm going to pivot to a self-worth question because my podcast talks about self-worth. So the question for you, what are some common misconceptions about self-worth, and how can we debunk them to help others on their journey of self-discovery? We probably might have answered that earlier, but yeah.
Myths about self-worth. Well, if someone is conscious enough to be aware of the difference between self-worth in terms of what my relationship with myself versus what the world thinks of me or my family or my friends or the outside world, then I don't know what a myth would be. But I think too many people base their self-worth on what other people think of them. And that would be very dangerous, because I was just talking about this today in the Rewire, because so every reality exists. There's a reality that people are going to mirror back to you what you think of you. So for instance, this particular client, one of her core wounds is being rejected and controlled. And she started to think about all of the different scenarios, different contrasting situations where people literally said things to her like, you're worthless and you'll never amount to anything. You're never going. And that motivated her, but in a compensation way, to like go get 3 degrees and to like overcompensate because that person said something that she intuitively in ourselves, like we know that's not true, but we've given so much power away, aka empowerment, because you got to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Because you give the power to your parents, and I understand why. We all want love, but most people have terrible models for self-love and self-respect. And you look out into the world, and whether it's because you have so many likes on social media or TikTok followers or whatever, people are like, oh, that person's really liked, but how many of them are still killing themselves? It's like ridiculous to think that that's what we equate to self-worth. Self-worth is about your relationship with yourself and nobody else. It's you liking you, you loving you, you trusting you, you investing into you. It is a you. Now, here's another myth, I guess, that we could talk about is that people think that means you're selfish. It doesn't mean you're selfish. First of all, you probably have no models for this. So isn't it time to be for your family and others? Because we're not seeing a lot. So it's time for someone to step up. Because what happens when you love and respect yourself is you teach others how to love and respect themselves.
Yes. Preaching to the choir. Yes,
Right,
yes. JJ, what is your heart's greatest wish?
Gosh, I have so much. My heart's greatest wish. Oh, that's funny. On this planet, in this physical human body, it's for my family to come visit me and come to my house. However, that's already happening. My mother's coming in a couple of weeks, and my sister-in-law
in Ohio.
No, they live in Pennsylvania, and
okay.
my dad doesn't like to travel, but my love language is quality time. So even though I know not to take it personally, I still feel sad.
You still have that. Yeah.
I still feel sad, frustrated, angry, when I don't feel like I'm not important enough for you to deal with it and
get
just
on
come.
yeah.
So that's, that's a fun struggle, but my mother's coming, so I'm very excited about that. That's now on a bigger way. What would I like? I think I would like a legacy. I think that I would like all the work that I'm doing in the world to continue. And I have trained 2 classes of Empowerment Strategists, and I have many of them who are in my mastermind this year and last year, and they're in my groups. So I don't doubt that will happen. I don't know. In fact, a lot of my clients listen to my podcast with their kids in the car. So I even know that I've got their kids that will be, oh my God, Jake. And so I'm training the younger ones. So I know it's going back there, but I would like to, and it's not to be my legacy. It's just the legacy of the work. It's keeping the work going because I feel like what I do is very important and it's very powerful, and it gets people out of years and years of cycling and bad therapy and still feeling broken and not feeling worthy and not feeling happy enough. And I help to break those cycles. And so I just want that empowerment piece to continue because I have this one exercise. If everybody just did it, if everyone could learn it, the whole world would look different. If everyone just get their own needs met and learn how to get your own happiness and stop asking other people to be different, everything would change. And not that everything needs to change. It will never all change, but more people, we would shift the consciousness faster. And we would tip the scale of the old soul, young soul kind of thing. And we go back to, and moving forward to a new level of expansion. I don't know what's going on there for you, but I think we're all having a similar conversation of, our grandparents, they had gardens, right? They grew their own food. And then we moved into industrialism, and then food was packaged, and then that's easier. And right. And then they added pesticides and changed the genetic modification of food so there was more crops, but then people now get sick, and so all the convenience and the money that happened is now causing us to want to go backwards, but really we're moving forwards into going back to growing our own food again, and to doing things kind of off the grid. So I think having that balance and choice of being able to be self-sustainable and then to join the rat race when you want to would be great.
I love that. Self-sustainable and joining the rat race when you want to. Do you have a mantra that you live by?
I'm the creator of my own reality.
Mic drop. Is there anything that keeps you up at night, or do you sleep well?
I sleep well. And if I don't sleep well, I will suffer the next day, but I'll process whatever emotion is there, because if I'm not sleeping well, it means there's something that I need to process. So I will make sure to uncover what it's about.
If you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as as your legacy, what would it be?
Well, I already said it, but I have two quotes that I've made in the last couple of years that I think are both equally powerful. But the first one is healing is when you're different in the same situation. The other one that I created during COVID was if they're not asking, they're not listening.
Woo! I love that. Ooh, ooh. They're not asking, they're not listening. Yeah. Okay.
Stop trying to shove information down people's throats that aren't asking for it.
Oh my God. Okay, JJ. Wow, that's my biggest takeaway for today. They're not asking, they're not listening. Stop shoving information. Listening. Okay. So, JJ, how can people reach out to you?
Flizanes.com, JJFLIZANES.com. Everything I've talked about is there. The 2 free classes that I've mentioned are both 90 minutes, and you can enjoy them on demand for free. My podcasts are there. My programs are there. All my offers are there. Everything is there. Social media.
You're still podcasting.
Yes, I'm going to hit my 10-year mark September 14th. September 14th will be my 10 years podcasting. It's a Saturday, and I don't know what to do yet. I kind of thought I'd have a party online, maybe. Maybe I'll just release an episode. I want to be interactive, although I am getting together with everybody literally less than a month from there. Not everybody, but people coming for the event. So I don't know. I have to be with that and figure it out.
Wow, 10-year mark. And here I am, just 1 year in.
Well, good on you. You're still here. You're more advanced than 90% of the people who've started podcasts last year.
Thank you. Thank you. And there you have it, guys. You heard it from the person herself, JJ Flizanes. Before we close off, JJ, I'd like to thank you personally for the work you're doing for the world and for advancing every step of the way despite the challenges, creating trails for those that will come after you. For the listeners, this has been that one podcast with that controversial name, You're Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. If you find yourself thinking that you're worthless, you're probably not alone. But more importantly, ask yourself a level deeper. If I'm worthless, then why the heck am I here? It is because your soul have chosen to be here energetically, all the way from the ethers, and for that reason itself, you are worthy and you are enough. This has been JJ Flizanes, your guest of the day, and Nick Nieras, your host, signing off. Thank you so much, JJ, for your time.
Thanks.